Let me bring in the former Coronation Street actor, our voice of the people, Charlie Lawson, and the brilliant Daily Telegraph columnist, Tim Stanley. So, Charlie Lawson, it's not often we disagree, but on this we do, because you think it's absolutely right for Prince Harry to be in military uniform.
Yes, I should say, Dan, that, evening, Tim. I should say that I did phone up some veteran friends of mine and asked them the question, because I kind of thought to myself, well, how dare I sort of give a definitive answer? So I did speak to three friends from the Royal Irish Regiment and an ex-Royal Marine, and they were all of the same belief that certainly Harry, I mean, it does divide opinions, and that's a kind of another tabloidy story, but the veterans I spoke to all felt strongly that Harry done 2 tours of Afghanistan, led his men. I'm not sure how far up the pointed end, but certainly 2 tours of duty, and led his men, and therefore should be allowed to wear his dress uniform. And especially they were pointed out, that Prince Edward had failed, the Royal Marines test, etc., etc. Look, I understand the rules and I understand the protocol, but I would tend to always side with veterans and what they feel, and they're telling me that they feel this is wrong. I mean, unfortunately, they do say, and this is from the horse's mouth, that the Duke of York was the Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Irish Regiment, and he was booted out unceremoniously in January this year, I think it was. And their reasons are too blunt for me to say, and too disrespectful to say on this programme. But I think you'll catch my drift of what they felt about that. You know, you don't hand 12 million quid over, blah blah blah, etc., etc. But let's not go down that road tonight.
No, fair enough, Charlie. I do understand what you're saying. Tim Stanley, you come at this from a different angle. You're not critical of how Prince Harry has acted this week, and in fact you say he has been very respectful, but you think it's important that the traditions and protocols are followed, and that's why you don't want him in military uniform. Is that right?
This isn't personal, and that's the nature of protocol. It's not personal. It neither discriminates against someone, nor does it favour someone. And the protocol, generally speaking, is that veterans do not wear the uniform, except for certain special occasions, and if they are working royals. Well, because of his current status, Harry is not a working royal. An exception is going to be made for Andrew when he posts vigil in Westminster Hall. That's because he's posting vigil in Westminster Hall. Harry's not doing that, and therefore he doesn't qualify for that dispensation. The point is that we've seen in the last few days an extraordinary celebration of tradition. Tradition rests upon protocol, and the reason why the last few days have gone without a hitch, without controversy, is because people have followed orders, followed custom, and done as they're told. In those circumstances, the individual is not put first. It's about what is done. And it's very much, I think, in the spirit of Elizabeth II, and it looks like in the spirit of Charles III, that they do the right thing. That's the spirit of duty and sacrifice that I think she embodied, and that's why the last few days have been such an extraordinary success.
Tim, I absolutely understand what you're saying, but can I just play devil's advocate and put it to you that, in fact, after the funeral of Princess Diana, there were a whole load of... Sorry, before the funeral of Princess Diana, there were a whole load of royal protocols that were thrown out of the window, and actually, that turned out to be a positive thing for the royal family.
Okay, I don't want to comment on something that I don't know about, but my suspicion is that the exceptions would have been precisely because of her status and within the royal family, and because of the very unique circumstances of her death. I'm just about old enough to remember that, and Diana's death came as a tremendous shock, and it was necessary emotionally to have a period of catharsis in which you work through that shock. And so there were certain things which were suspended and done in a different way. This is very different. We knew this day was coming, tragic though it is. We're ready for it, and it's been extraordinary to see the sort of machinery of the state, of the crown and the state, switch into operation, see everything done exactly as it is intended to be, and as it will presumably be done when this occasion comes up in the future. If you allowed individuals dispensation in the form of a popular funeral, where we tend to say to people, you do what you want to do, if you allowed that on this occasion, it could really undermine the occasion. Imagine if we said to the yeomen of the guard, guys, wear what you want. It would look ridiculous. That's not what this is about. This is a state occasion. It's protocol. That's why it's working so well.
Charlie Lawson, do you understand that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it, Tim, and you know as well as anybody. I mean, we do this better than anyone else on the planet, and always have done, and we respect traditions and we respect protocol, and you know that's why I felt it my duty to ask the veterans that I knew very well, and I'm merely conveying their opinion, which happens to be against this protocol. But I totally get where Tim was coming from. And, you know, I mean, today when those fellas carried the coffin into Westminster Hall, that when the Queen died, I mean, that was... you know, we're fairly stoical back here in Northern Ireland, but we were very upset. And but then I gathered myself together over the last few days. But today, watching those boys carry the coffin into Westminster Hall, I'm afraid I was in bits. But I totally get the, I totally understand, Tim, and I'm sure veterans would understand that too. I'm just, you know, conveying what they said to me. But look, my biggest concern, Dan, and I think you've covered it now, is, and I know people are feeling it because I've talked to them in the pub, and it's why you were highlighting the security element of what's going on now. And, you know, I grew up where I grew up, and I'll tell you what, there are fears now in the back of people's heads, and I dread to think, but I have every confidence in our anti-terrorist squads, the police and the uniforms all there. And we're pretty damn good at this, but let's just pray and hope that all goes well, and as well as it has been going up till now.